This is box pop-offs drill. Okay, so this drill uses some kind of elevated platform in order to work on both the takeoff mechanics coming into the takeoff, as well as you can use this for working on flight phase, working on being higher in the air so you're in the air longer, to work on some specific action of flight or landing, etc. But you need some kind of elevated platform. So what I've got here is about a 10 centimeter box. It's a little over 4 inches. So it's a box with a little bit of rubber on the top, so I can run through and wear spikes no problem, and I can land and have something elevated to jump off from. So I'll show you a few variations. I've got two of these, but you can see this one. Okay, so we got this one, which is a 24 by 24. You can make them 30 by 30. You can make them long and wide. You can have a lot of variations. Or you could have what's called an arch. So this is an arch. They're a bit heavy. This is built out of metal, but it's a little bit bigger. It's about 30 inches wide and about 24 long. But it's an arch. You can see here, it's even higher, but you can land on it and you have a couple different variabilities. So I'll show you both these, show you why we do it, the drills, and then how to coach this. So let me put this back for starters. All right, so the box drill, where to set it up. So this is only a 24 by 24, so it's not super wide, it's not super long. So you got to be pretty accurate on these boards based on their dimensions. So my foot's going to land in a pretty small localized area. So I like using these small boards to work on the very specific action of planting and getting that foot down quick in the right spot. So it helps you become more of a visualization of making sure your foot is getting in that right spot. So what I'll do is I'll come back from a short approach. You can do this with varying short approaches. You can do 2 steps, 4 steps, 6 steps. So I'll actually just come here literally from just 2 strides, and I'm just going to go right, left, and I'm going to penultimate takeoff and just focus on getting my foot down onto the ground. Now, usually you'll see something like this. Ready? You see how I jumped to it? So usually the athlete wants to then jump up. That's not what we want with these box drills. We don't want them to come down and jump off of their penultimate step, trying to get high enough to step on it. You want them to simulate the action of, as you come through your penultimate, your hips lower, right? That's why we do that. Your hips lower, and then as you plant, your hips start to raise through, right? So you're raising into your penultimate and then through it. So what we want is we want to pull through, land as we're raising. So we really want to focus on that. Remember the drill we did where we grabbed the ground and threw it behind us, the pawing drill, where we really want to paw into it to get our foot through and our hips to raise as we come up onto this. So now I can just try again, get a little bit closer this time. So now I'm not trying to reach, and I'm going to paw plant. Really focus on paw plant. And you can see that as I pawed, I hips lowered, and I pulled through, I bridged. So I'm here, here, and then I bridge. Bridging is keeping this at 90 degrees as I roll onto the ball of my foot. And that brings this forward, boom. This foot can then land on it, and then I create that strike action, that plant, that boom, boom. That foot goes into the ground, and I lock it. It's called a jam. So I jam my foot into that board, and then I lock my hips, lock my quads, lock my core, boom, and I can explode through. And this will help the athlete also with not wanting to lower and jump off of this. You're already high, so you don't need to jump higher. So now you're just planting, locking, and rolling through. We're gonna do one more time here. And then now I can add a little bit of distance to it. I can just come back with a few more steps now. And then you can notice on that one that my foot actually landed right here, right? So it barely got on it. So you got to really be accurate with these. Now, what I can do, if I'm worried about that, is I can make it longer, I can make it wider, or I could use an arch. So an arch, now what you've done is you've removed that fear aspect of, hey, what if I don't make it? Am I going to injure myself? Now they land down here, they're still on it. They land up here, it's ideal. And if they go over, well, they're still technically on it, right? So it's a little bit more, it's a little safer. And I'll show you some pros and cons in just a second. But that's a little safety to it. The downside, though, is if they end up jumping from here, that's not what we want. We want to simulate what we're going to do. We actually have the takeoff, which is going to be flat, right? Those are flat. This is arched. So you really have to take off from the top to really get that simulating the same response. So now I'll come through here, come back to my point here, and now I'll try it again. You can see if am I comfortable into this. And I can just pop up. See the spring I got. So we can do this with a couple different variations, but this is box pop-offs. And now I'll show you some different variations that we can use with the boxes.